So this kind of rule we can define in a DLB. So we have one DLB for non-production. So non-production can have dev environment and test environment also. So this two rule we can define to the non-prod DLB. So initially request coming this based on P, we are sending request to the particular application and test. So this is the name which we have given while we deploying our application to the cloud hub. Okay.
Yeah. Next question we have is from Aditya. Okay, it's from previous session, but anyways, what is the difference between private cloud and on-premise?
Private cloud and on-premises. Good question. Private cloud means the customer purchase Azure or cloud, and they are utilizing for their own cloud. So that is a private cloud. It's still available online, but this is the particular space is responsible for customer only. That is a private cloud. Okay, it is not something that something is available on cloud is not a private. It can also be a private. Okay, and on-premises means customer in customer servers, customer data center at customer location. They are running a server, so we can say it is an on-premises. Hope this answer is clear.
Yep. Next question is from Vignesh again. I tried creating HTTP listener with self-signed certificate created using Java key store, but it failed during the Cloud Hub deployment. Is it possible to create HTTP listener for our Cloud Hub application?
Yes, we can. Normally, any application which exposes as an API, it can't be possible without HTTP listener. Okay. Create our application with self-signed certificate. So we are given 8081 for HTTP and 8082 for HTTPS. Okay. Then Cloud Hub shared load balancer understand that you should send a request on HTTPS, and then you provide a key store. That is not will create an issue, because ultimately your private self-signed certificate will not be used. It is used by shared load balancer. So whatever certificate you have generated, there's no use of that. It is only understand that you deploy your application, you use HTTPS option with 8082 port. So you should send your request to shared load balancer with HTTP.
So what if we don't have a load balancer?
What if we don't have load balancer?
Dedicated. Can we deploy with a particular HTTPS listen endpoint?
Yes. So yeah, definitely. I say that there are 4 ports available: 8081, 8082, 8091, and 8092. 8091 and 8092. Those 2 ports are dedicated for dedicated load balancer. And you have to basically register as you can see that load balancer. If I go to the load balancer section, you will see in previous company I worked on, there are 2 load balancer I have created. One is for non-production, another for production. So non-production, what is a subject common of my load balancer? How it is calculated? It is calculated based on my private key, which is created using a key tool which is certified by certified authority. Like certified authority who basically certified our private key.
Okay. One last question.
Okay, that is.
So we do have a option like static IP. We can assign static IP to application, right?
Static IP assigned to the worker. Static IP concept is for worker, means incoming is handling by dedicated load balancer or shared load balancer. But when you make a request from your application to the external world, what IP is using? So by default, it is assigned one public IP, which is a very random IP address. And every time you deploy application or redeploy application, your IP is changed. But if you want to make one IP address, it is for byte listing. For example, suppose you want to hit a network which is very secure, and you can assign a static IP address to your worker, and you can tell them that this I need to hit your application using this IP. So static IP address coming to the picture only worker.
Okay, I do have an application where we are listening to an SFTP server. In that server, they are requesting us to provide static IP so that they can whitelist that IP in their end. But since we even if we provide our worker IP, we are not able to communicate with that particular SFTP client server.
Uh, Network, because for example, let me show you that if what IP address is using for. If I go to the log section, if I go to the system, as you can see that there is a IP. This IP is assigned to my application, and this IP address is using to make a connection to the external world in order to connect SFTP, in order to connect database. So you have to given this IP address to them.
Okay. So if any if SFTP connector is trying to establish a connection to that SFTP client server, it will use this IP to establish a connection, right?
As it is not a static IP, it is a dynamic IP, because in my subscription I don't have a static IP, but I have a static IP, then I can assign from here. Okay, allocated static IP, use static IP, and give us IP. So this IP will not be changed until you delete.
Okay. Okay, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so let me move to my slide. Okay. Yes. So CI/CD, yes, customer having Jenkins or any GitLab platform for deploying applications, so they need to change the Mule Maven plugin, and instead of define the customer on-premises server details like where the IP of my server, what is all information, instead of define that, they can define the Mule Maven plugin, which is responsible for deploying the application to the Cloud Hub. And there's a Cloud Hub property, configure Cloud Hub property, like how many workers, what is the reason, or there are a number of properties are in Mule Maven plugin they have to define in order to use the existing CI/CD process. And we have another option for deployment also. We have a Cloud Hub platform API. I have created Postman, but I can show you that there is a Cloud Hub API, but it is taking a too much time. But we have a Cloud Hub platform API. Using that, we can update the application and deploy the application. And we have a Anypoint CLI. This is another concept, and very big concept. And using that, we can also deploy the application and check the logs. Each and everything we can do with the API, the same to do with the CLI, and each and everything we can do with the UI, which I showed you previously. UI, user interface or control plane. The same thing we can do with these three options. Okay, so in order to change CI/CD, so those are terms or those are steps we need to consider. Okay, logs, alert, monitor the application. So when we deploy to application,
what I found on the web.
When we deploy to the workers, and one worker having 100 MB capacity of log, means if the log file maximum size is 100 MB, after that it is rollover, and one log can be saved in 30 days. After 30 days, it will be deleted. So for the workers, but Anypoint monitoring features we have, we can save data, monitoring data for one worker up to 200 GBs. There is Anypoint monitoring, we can say another concept, and where we can monitor each and every application, and it not use the actual data, it is use the metadata of our application, static data, statics, not the actual data. And as you can see that the on-premises server using ELK and Splunk in order to see the log, in order to see the various things generated, reported. So we have a same functionality here. We can enable a log4j file. We have to contact MuleSoft. Once we enable a log4j, so we can define appender, Splunk appenders there, and the same logs will be sent to the Splunk also. So the same thing we can achieve there. Anypoint CLI and platform API can also be used to download logs. We can download the logs also. Alert can be configured, means related to runtime manager. For example, if CPU utilization is high, so alert generated, application restarted, alert generated, more memory management, those things we can see that. Auto scaling feature also available. you must have enterprise license agreement for auto scaling feature. So these are slides are related to the logs, alert, and monitor. And as of now, I cannot see any disadvantage over cloud here in the cloud if I compare to on-premises. Those are the kind of added advantage here. It is not something that something is not available in on-premises, but something is available in on-premises but not in the cloud hub. It is not something like that. So let me move to the another scaling feature I already explained. So we can deploy our application max 8 worker, 128 vCores. That's wrong. 128 vCores we can deploy. We can use dedicated and shared load balancer. But in on-premises, we can add server, cluster, server group, load balancer. Load balancer can be configured explicitly in on-premises, but in Cloud Hub, the dedicated and shared load balancer is provided. Okay, disaster recovery and high availability. Suppose we deploy our application to 2 workers. So in a particular region, our application deployed to the availability zone. Means in a one region, there are multiple availability zone available. If I deploy my application 2 workers, so either this availability zone or this availability zone, my application is deployed. And MuleSoft says that the distance between one availability zone to another availability zone is 60 miles at least. So if something happened here, maybe or disaster or something happened with this availability zone, so might this shut down. So apart from 60 miles, so it may possibility that the same thing not happen here. Okay, so still your application will be responsive using this worker. So before our load is distributed in between 2 workers, but due to disaster or we can say due to some issue, this worker is not available online. So our application responds using this worker. And some customer having requirement that I want to deploy my application in a 2 separate region. Okay, I'm going to deploy my application, 2 application, the same application in a 2 region. So what MuleSoft suggested that we create your external load balancer, and that external load balancer sending request to this region or this region. So this is the disaster recovery options available in MuleSoft. High availability, number of workers. Disaster recovery means for this region and this region, external load balancer we have configured. Either load balancer send to this or this in a round robin fashion or based on the pattern they have applied. So worker size, I already explained that. Yes. So the most important security, because on premises we have DMZ, the customer gateway, private gateway. But we can see that suppose I have this kind of security, those kind of security you have or not. So I say that we have those kind of security. We have a high trust certified, we have a PCI certified tool, and our infrastructure, our runtime manager, our runtime, Mule runtime running in AWS, and you know that AWS having all kind of securities. So, and we can say that every application deploy their own virtual machine. They are isolated from each other. There's a completely isolation between each server, so there is a securities there. And we say that once you log in using username and password, so we are storing a username and password in the S3 bucket with non-recursive fashion. Means we don't know that what username and password you provided. So this is a kind of security. Data encryption, persistence queue, encryption queues features are available, and yeah. So